welcome to Art 2427. My name's Andrei and I'm going to explain this painting to you. And the title is The Promise. The Promise. Now, the promise is set out in Genesis chapter 17 and verse 5, and it's God giving a promise to Abraham that he will become the father of many nations. And Abraham is brought outside his tent by God and shown all these stars in the heavens, and God says to him, "So shall your offspring be." This painting is based on a scripture in Paul's letter to the Romans, chapter 4, verses 18 and 19. And I'll just read that to you. And this is talking about Abraham himself. And it says this: "In hope he believed against hope, that he should become the father of many nations, as he had been told, so shall your offspring be. He did not weaken in faith when he considered his own body, which was as good as dead, since he was about 100 years old, or when he considered the barrenness of Sarah's womb." Sarah was his wife, and she was about 99, or she's a pretty old woman, and but she'd been barren all her life. And Abraham, here's this old man, 100, but God had given him a promise. And Abraham believed him because the promise giver was God. And God, as the promise giver, always is faithful to his word. If he gives a word, it's an everlasting word. It's always given. And because it's given by God, the perfect one, it is a perfect promise. And he is faithful to maintain that. Now, this painting, abstract painting, illustrates this, or tries to capture this idea that here is Abraham, and it says that in verse 19 it says that he did not weaken in faith when he considered his own body. So it wasn't like he was in a kind of dream world, or a kind of state of denial. He actually considered his own body, which was as good as dead, and he looked at Sarah, but he didn't weaken in his faith because God, he had experiences with God, and he knew that what God's character was like. So therefore, even though he considered his body, now this black area all around depicts the situation that he is in. It shows his aged body, past the kind of time that in the natural way of things procreation or reproduction could carry on. And this is also representative of him considering Sarah, his wife, being barren, and that the looking in a natural way of things, this is an impossible situation, absolutely, from a human point of view, absolutely impossible. And then if we look at this here, this is quite a heavy line of impasto that goes all around the area of blackness. It goes all around there. This is a significant barrier. It's a very, very heavy impasto. It's trying to show that the natural things are a massive barrier. They're huge. They're almost an impassable barrier. But when it comes to comparing the the natural with what is now inside here, there is a vast world of difference. There is two realities going on here. There is the natural reality with its barrier to the promise that, or to the expectation of this man and his wife of ever having a family. They're past it, basically. That time is gone. That is one reality. But in here exists another reality. And this is the promise. Inside here, this is the promise. And the contrast can't be greater. Outside is black and bland and uniform. But inside we have all of this life and this vibrance and colour. We have all of these different areas that are inexplicable in comparison with what is outside. This is life, because this is what happens when God speaks. If we remember from the book of Genesis, chapter 1 verse 3, God says, "Let there be light." And that word "let" means allowing and bringing forth. And God speaks. When God speaks something, it is bringing forth something that doesn't exist. So naturally they can't conceive. But supernaturally, this is a promise. In here are many nations. Each of these different colours represents a different people group, a different nation. This isn't just Abraham being the father of Israel and the 12 tribes of Israel, because what the scripture says, you will be the father of many nations. So this is a plural thing, and they're all different from each other. But there is life and abundance and vibrance in each of these, and that's what the colours represent. So the message of this painting is God speaks and is faithful to what he speaks about. God promises and always faithfully keeps his promise. And if we have something from God, and all around seems to be naturally impossible, with a massive heavy barrier around it, in a natural way of things, it seems totally impossible. But God makes a promise. And that is the thing that counts. That is the thing that works. That is the thing that is to be relied on. That is the thing to have faith in. God has said something. Yes, you may consider, like Abraham did, his own body and Sarah's womb, but he chose to believe the promise. He chose to believe God, because that is where the life is. Outside of that, there is nothing. Outside of that is just a natural reality. Inside of God is another reality. Now that reality contains life itself. So that's the message of this. Hold on to the promise. Forget the other stuff. Yes, it's real. Yes, it's a reality. But there's a higher reality. And that's the thing you hold on to. That's the thing you look to. That's the thing that you have in your long-term vision. You may not see this immediately. You may see all of this immediately. But hold on to this, because the day comes when this occurs. And if you read the account of Abraham and Sarah, what happens to them, you'll see that this happens. You'll see that this comes about. In its day, God brings it about. In its day, according to a prophecy given through the prophet Isaiah, in its time I will hasten it, God says. And that's certainly what happens with Abraham and his son Isaac, who is the son of the promise, born by supernatural means. And that's what happens. The promise is a supernatural thing. It's not natural. It's not a natural thing. In Abraham and Sarah's case, the natural thing didn't work. It failed. It was an impossible thing. There was an impossible barrier to it. But the supernatural, that is the thing that works. That is the thing that works. So that is the thing to focus on. Forget that. Look at the promise, because the promise is the eternal thing. The promise is the long-term thing. And though it is delayed, don't give up hope, because Abraham believed and he hoped against hope that this would happen one day, and it did. It did. So that's the message of this painting, the promise. So what kind of promise has God given to you? Has he given you a promise? Has he spoken to you, or have you spoken to him about something? And are you waiting for a reply, or has he replied? If he has, and if he's given you a word, believe that. Don't believe the rest. Believe the eternal. Believe the supernatural, the thing that is above nature, the thing that will actually come as a reality. Believe that, because that is the promise. So I hope you like that, and you can see the wonder of the promise of God that's depicted in this abstract work. So until next time, thanks for watching.